Hey guys, what is up? And in this video, I'm going to be going over all the parts needed to build a solid $350 gaming PC that's going to be ideal for playing games like Fortnite at 60 FPS 1080p on low to medium settings, as well as other games like GTA 5, Overwatch, and games that are easy to run like CSGO. Now, I'll also make sure to include links to all of the parts mentioned in this video in the description down below, and without wasting any more time, let's get straight into the build. For the first part of the build, I chose the AMD Ryzen 3 2200G with VEGA 8 graphics on board, and honestly, this was a pretty easy decision for me to make. With a $350 budget, you don't have very many good options for solid CPU and GPU combinations while also staying under budget. But fortunately, not too long ago, AMD released the Ryzen 2200G and 2400G APUs, meaning they actually come with really impressive VEGA graphics built in, which means for this build, there will be no need for a dedicated graphics card. Now, you might be thinking that sounds a lot like the crappy Intel integrated graphics you get with most new laptops, and really this is in a totally different league. With this, you're getting graphical performance that's actually comparable to that of a lower end dedicated graphics card like the 1030, for example. And even in some games that are optimized for VEGA graphics, you might even get slightly better performance, which is really impressive for an APU. I'll also make sure to include some benchmarks at the end of the video, so stick around for that. But just as an example, in Fortnite, which I'm sure most of you guys are probably going to end up using this build for that, you can expect a solid 60 FPS on low to medium settings at 1080p. And overall, for $100, this is a great value considering it's going to be both our CPU and GPU. Now, not only are the onboard graphics pretty solid, but you also get a full quad-core CPU clocked in at 3.7 GHz. And to top it all off, it's unlocked, meaning you can actually overclock with the B350 motherboard I chose for this build. Now, on top of all of that, because we're using the built-in graphics, you also have the option to add a dedicated graphics card in the future for better performance if you decide to upgrade. And overall, you're getting a very solid quad-core CPU and very capable graphics. And in a $350 build, this is just a no-brainer. So for storage, I chose to go with the Western Digital 1TB blue hard drive. Now, because our budget was pretty low for this build, I really couldn't fit an SSD in unless we just went with an SSD without a hard drive. And in that case, you really wouldn't have enough space for all of your games and movies, etc. So going with a hard drive seemed like the most logical choice in this case, which is why I went with the Western Digital 1TB blue. Now, this is a very solid hard drive for the price. For $44, you're getting a 7200 RPM hard drive with 64 megabytes of cache. And it's 1 terabyte, so that's going to be plenty of space for most of your games and movies, music, pretty much everything you would like to keep on your computer. And down the road, you always have the option to add an SSD just to improve the performance. Now, for the RAM, I chose to go with 2 sticks of 4 GB of Crucial Ballistics Sport LT memory. You're getting 2 sticks of 4 GB, meaning it's going to be running in dual channel, which will give you a slight performance boost. Nothing dramatic, but it will help a little bit, and it's clocked in at 2400 MHz DDR4, so the performance is pretty solid. And at $85, it's a pretty good deal for right now. I know a couple of years ago, you could get 8 GB of RAM for like $35 or something ridiculous like that. I remember when I got mine, it was about $35. So RAM prices are insanely high right now. But in the current market, $85 is a pretty solid deal, so that's what I'm recommending for this build. Moving along, I picked the GIGABYTE GA AB350M Gaming 3 motherboard. This is a B350 motherboard, meaning it's going to support overclocking on our CPU, which is really nice. Obviously, it's going to be compatible with all the parts I picked for this build. And you get 4 RAM slots, which is very nice because right now we've got 8 GB of RAM, meaning you can upgrade to 16 GB in the future if you ever choose to do so. It also has support for M.2 NVMe SSD, so if you ever want to upgrade to have super fast storage, that's always an option as well. And overall, it's just a solid motherboard. The main reason, though, I actually picked this for this build is that it actually, according to the seller states that they actually ship this with the BIOS already updated for the Ryzen 3 2200G. Now, basically, long story short, what this means is that you'll be able to basically take it right out of the box, put your CPU in, build your PC, and you'll be good to go. Normally, if the BIOS hasn't been updated and it's an older motherboard with a newer CPU, sometimes you have to update the BIOS by using an older CPU and then you can swap it out for the new one. But in this case, you should be able to use it right out of the box, just going off of what the seller said. Anyway, I would definitely recommend this. It's $79 and it supports all the parts. Plus, it comes with a pretty cool red and black color scheme as well. Moving right along to the case, I picked the ROSEWILL MICRO-ATX Mini Tower case just because of its value. Really, for $25, this is one of the best value PC cases out there, and while it really won't turn any heads, it's definitely going to be a smart choice when you have a low budget, just to have something to put all your parts into, really. And I've actually built a previous build using this case myself, and while it's not the best looking case, it is very solid for the price. And although cable management is going to be pretty difficult, you can basically just cram cables into the corners, zip tie them down, and it should get the job done. And it is a MICRO-ATX case, which means it's going to be very compact compared to your standard mid-tower. And in terms of fans, you also are going to get one 120mm fan included in the front and an 80mm fan in the back. Powering all the parts, we have the EVGA 450BT 80 plus bronze rated power supply. Now at $25, this has to be one of the best value parts in this entire build. You're getting 450 watts of power, which will be more than enough for our build with an APU, and it'll even leave some room for upgrades in the future if you ever want to change any parts out or add a GPU. Now you're also getting a 3-year warranty, and it's 80 plus bronze rated like I said before, which is very nice as well. Overall, for $25, I think this is one of the best value power supplies you're really going to find on the market. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I also wanted to give you guys some benchmarks, but I basically just went ahead and collected some different benchmarks, averaged them out just to give you an idea of the performance. So with that being said, here are some benchmarks for different games at different qualities. So as you can see, the performance is pretty impressive across the board. This isn't going to blow away any discrete graphics card, but it is going to perform really well for an APU. And overall, I would say most games out there are going to be playable. You're probably not going to be able to achieve that 60 FPS at 1080p on most AAA titles, but a lot of games out there, especially games like Fortnite that are a little bit more easy to run, then you're going to get some really impressive results with this. Overall, I would say in a $350 build, this is a great value, and you always have the option to upgrade to a dedicated graphics card for some extra performance if you decide you need it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.